Bourbon needs on.
Ballpark Nation presents
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here come the Astros, burning.
First pitch. And Alex lines it to the left center field. That's the base hit. Pitcher around third and coming home. Easy up with the baseball. The throw to the plate. Not in time. Astros win. Astros win.
One every time.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Veerling's back. This game is turned upside down.
And the pitch is lifted to right by Castellanos. Long run for Tucker over toward the line and foul territory. Makes the catch, and the Houston Astros do it again. 2022 World Series champions.
Welcome to Go Astros, your look at the two-time World Series champions from three guys who have been here since Art Howe had hair.
Here come the Astros, breathing orange fire. Here come the Astros.
You know what, Andy? I will never not listen to that now with going, is Art Howe a real person? I definitely
That does exist.
It's definitely how she comes across. Good morning. This is Go Astros. We are joined by two of our co-hosts who are now up in the Northeast. We've got Andy Tom Chesson. Andy, good morning.
Good morning. Looking forward to a good showing at the Waterbury Open this week, and God willing, the weather will hold out, and we'll have a good round.
Well, and I just want you to know that even only one of you can be my colleague. You're all now my friends. And Brian Arbor is here wondering, what are they talking about?
So instead of Art Howe, maybe it should be Art Who.
Maybe. I might try to have her redo it with Bob Nepper in something just to see if she can pronounce Bob Nepper. That's not going to be our goal.
I think she won't believe Bob Nepper exists either.
Try Louis Pujols.
Yeah, we could do that. Well, we do have a fun show for us today. Now, first of all, we are going to start with a little Astros talk. Kind of the fun part about spring training is it's easier to also talk about other topics. First full squad workouts today. But, it's spring training for us too. So some of our fellow Astros fans got a chance to practice the injury panic with no information based on both JP and JV's shoulders. Looks like JV's already thrown off a mound. So, and I don't, guys, Brian, I trust JV to be more honest about injuries than I do like Lance. Like JV's usually pretty blunt about what's going on. So did you have a moment with the shoulder thing or no?
I mean, very quickly, I sort of looked at what he actually said. And I think the panic was created by the initial way the reporters were talking about it. And then you got and look at what actually Verlander said, which is, I'm a little behind, but I have begun throwing. And we've continued to see evidence of him throwing. Now, Verlander is very much a creature of routine. So while and so this is part of that, right? So other pitchers would say, hey, I'm a little bit behind, but it's not a big deal. In Justin Verlander's world, being 30 seconds behind getting to the mound is a crisis.
Yeah.
So,
you would think for a guy who married Kate Upton, he could have more confidence. Andy, your thoughts on it too?
I equated everything I heard from him to my own life because I like to put myself in those positions. Being 52, I wake up and sometimes things don't feel good. And by sometimes, I mean literally every day of my life. And I still manage to get to where I need to be and do my job and be a productive member of society. And that's what I heard from Verlander when he was talking about is like, yeah, it didn't feel good. And now it's okay. And I'm fine. I'm a little bit behind. To Brian's point, he's such a creature of habit, a creature of routine, that any disruption to that is going to feel major. But the way the media covered it and the way I don't want to blame Brian McTaggart to the world because they're just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
But literally, it's our fan base, and I guess every fan base does this, runs with the worst possible scenario. And you're all of a sudden, we've got to go sign Blake Snell. We've got to go sign Jordan Montgomery because JV's going to be out at least half the year. And it was from literally hey, 2 weeks ago, I didn't feel good. Today, I'm okay.
Yeah. Now, there was a report coming out that the Rangers have said that they are done for the offseason, which I find odd because they really didn't improve anything. And in fact, they got worse by losing Montgomery. Brian, we're already over the first tax threshold. Should they kick the tires on a Snell or Montgomery for as much as to improve an already strength of the team, but also to not have him play for someone else that might be competing with the Astros later on?
I mean, if we had infinite amounts of Jim Crane's money,
remember
sure.
Y'all remember Ben Stein's money? That was fun. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Jimmy Kimmel's first job.
Yes, it was before the Man Show, right?
Yep.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You pair a dumb guy with a smart guy, and
it works out.
Which one was the okay? Anyway, Brian, back to what you were saying.
I've read some of Ben Stein's economic and political commentary. No, won't add to that. So there's a budget. It seems to me there's a budget for this team, and they are probably over it. And obviously they want to make some moves at the trade deadline. So, hey, would it be great to sign Jordan Montgomery? Sure, because it's not my money and it's not my profits. Does Jim Crane want to do that? Hey, Jim Crane seems to have set a budget. Like I said, I think they've gone over it. I don't have any complaints about Jim Crane's total spending. So, I don't expect to move, and we can talk about on whether they should or shouldn't do it, but it's also the same thing as we should talk if I should go to Mars.
Well, I think it's probably more realistic than going to Mars, because I do feel like the Hader deal came out of nowhere. So I still don't leave anything up to chance. I do feel like if there was a more serious issue with JV or even JP, that those tires might be kicked. Andy?
Yeah, I don't think the issues with either of the pitchers with the potential shoulder problems, which is a really overblown way of saying they're in spring training, is going to necessitate another signing of a starter. The Rangers are in an interesting situation because they don't have any money. And when we talk about Jim Crane not having any money, that's kind of a Jim Crane chooses not to spend at a certain level, and that's his prerogative. He also lost somewhere between $53 and $73 million for TV rights this year, potentially. The Rangers definitely lost that money. And I know it's being talked about in the DFW market, but there is real uncertainty with the Rangers and a handful of other teams with this Diamond Sports thing happening, where they don't know what their TV money is going to look like this year. And so it's hampered a lot. They're also handicapped by what they're paying their infield. And you would argue that signing Corey Seager and Marcus Semien was worth it because we won a World Series. And I would say you're 100% correct, but you're seeing some of the other side of that is they're a little bit handicapped because of what they're paying for those players right now. They can't go out and sign Jordan Montgomery, and I'm sure they would love to, and I'm sure Montgomery would love to be there. It's a good story. But back to our topic, the Astros, they don't need another starting pitching. Everybody out there saying Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, that's wish casting, because I guess they want to replace JP France or they want to replace Jose Urquidy. And yes, those would be upgrades to those two guys, but there's a cost, and you're going to still need some roster flexibility in the middle of the year, whatever that looks like, because I assume they're still going to want another left-handed bat. They're still going to probably need another bullpen piece at some point, even if it's a middle innings guy. They might need another starter, and there might be a better selection at better prices around the All-Star break than there is right now.
And I'll just add this too. Blake Snell is a contract I don't want my team to sign.
Blake, I did not. I said Blake. I did not say Blake Snell for that very reason.
Yeah,
Montgomery.
I only talked about Montgomery for that reason. And if you're relying on Blake Snell has had 2 years where he's qualified for the ERA title. Now, if he does that, he's won the Cy Young both times.
He shouldn't have.
But
he shouldn't have won it both times.
A, undoubtedly true. And B, if you're banking on, I know our solution to our health issues, sign Blake Snell is not the way to go.
No, completely. As we get ready to start with the full squad workouts today and things like that, do you have a better take on whether you think it's like Cabbage or Singleton that makes the team? I'm still betting Cabbage makes the team. I know there's been some sort of predictions that it might be Singleton at first and Cabbage brought up later. But any thoughts on that, Andy?
I'm not ready to take my Twitter private, so I don't know if I can answer that. Because no, I think
She's got you on notifications too, man. She's ready.
Yeah, everything else being equal, I think Trey Cabbage has a leg up because of his legs. He can play more than one position. He can play it well. John Singleton surprised me a little bit with his nimbleness at first base, the little bit that he played. I'm sure there are zone ratings and all kinds of defensive metrics that say he was not good. But he's a one-tool player. He hits for power when he makes contact. And Trey Cabbage is kind of the same way, but he can also spell you in left, spell you in right, give you first base backup innings. So I think there's more flexibility there. They both kind of suffer from the same thing. I think Cabbage's strikeout issue is more pronounced than Singleton's, because Singleton will give you competitive at-bats. There just wasn't a lot to show from them last year, or to be honest, throughout his major league attempts at a career. But I still think it's Cabbage at the end of the day, unless something really strange happens for one or both of them.
And Brian, there's also the hope that the Astros clearly have a better development system than the Angels do. Maybe they can do something to fix Cabbage. We've certainly seen it before. Where do you land on that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Andy said all else being equal, and here's one thing that isn't equal. Trey Cabbage has minor league options. He can be sent down to Sugar Land, and John Singleton cannot. So if they don't put him on the major league roster, they will have to DFA him, expose him to waivers. So I think Cabbage will have to clearly outplay Singleton, which is certainly possible because we've seen exactly 0 spring training at bats from these guys so far.
Exactly 0. Well, you know what has been consistent pretty much since his time taking over the chair is that Rob Manfred, who has announced that he's retiring. When I kind of saw that, I was hoping it meant tomorrow, but no, it didn't. But he has proved again how much he really has disdain for baseball and baseball fans by telling Oakland fans to essentially suck it up and become Giants fans. That, for me, would be like me having to root for the Texans or the Rangers. It doesn't seem possible. Brian, is this another evidence of just what we've been seeing? If like the World Series is a hunk of metal, I mean, really, could this guy be any more tone deaf?
Yes, he could be Bud Selig.
Andy, would you like to fill up that?
I mean, I understand why he gave 5 years notice. It takes a while for Major League Baseball to find a qualified sycophant. I mean, as far as sycophancy goes, Rob Manfred is kind of the gold standard, if you will. He's so, I think the term I used when he released the thing was cock punch. He's a cock punch of a human being. He's just the worst human being that I can imagine in that role. He hates the sport so very, very much and hates the fans even more than he hates the game. And I know that's hyperbole, and I'm sure he's a wonderful guy with his grandkids and gives to charity and whatever. But the reality is, to be as tone deaf as you are by saying that, A's fans can just cross the bay. Hey, crossing the bay is not an easy task for the folks of Oakland or vice versa. It's a pain in the ass to get from one side to the other in any kind of reasonable time. B, A's fans are A's fans because they like the A's, not because I just like baseball enough that I'll go root for the Giants. Most of them, if they acknowledge the Giants, hate the Giants. Now, you are going to have trouble finding an A's fan right now because there's only a few of them left. But it's not like, I mean, it would be akin of 1956, somebody being said, hey, Dodgers are leaving, just go root for the Yankees. It's fine. You got baseball right there.
Yeah.
There are still people living in Brooklyn today that will not root for the Yankees.
I know a daughter of one. It is a very real, very palpable thing.
If Doris Kearns is still alive, she's one of them.
Doris Kearns, I love that. I first of all, she's part of one of my favorite parts of that documentary. And I wish they could have done a. And then we have a question from Harmony Music. Sorry, it says thoughts on Epstein as commissioner, and I for a second thought that it was not Theo Epstein, but the other one. I was like, well, no, Craig, we don't want the pedophile as commissioner of baseball.
Do we want Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter?
Right.
But
I mean, he does seem like a qualified name, but it also tells me that that's why he won't get the job, because he doesn't fall in under the The idea that he is a owner's kiss up, like Andy was suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, so remember the boss, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, because the boss of the commissioner reports to and is hired by 30 owners. And the reason Rob Manfred got the job is because the owners thought he was the best guy to negotiate against the players to get them what they want, which is more money, more of the money that we spend to watch the players go to the people we're not watching, the owners. And that's, of course, this person will be a suck up because you're a suck up to your boss, and your boss is not baseball fans, as Rob Manfred has ably demonstrated. It is not, it is not writers or reporters. It is, again, baseball owners who, they created this job because they were going to lose money because of the Black Sox scandal. This isn't it's for the good of the game, is for the good of their profits. So would Theo Epstein do that? Well, Theo Epstein has a small ownership stake in the Red Sox and, is more eloquent speaking about issues of the game. And he's heavily involved, he's been involved with Major League Baseball on the rules changes. So possibly, but it's more likely going to be some functionary in the MLB offices that we've never heard of, like Rob Manfred was.
Well, we actually have go ahead, Andy. We have a question on the comments, but Andy, you first.
And I looked it up, but to Brian's point, I'm sure Rob Manfred does what he's being paid to do. They wouldn't still have him in the office if he didn't. But we have had commissioners in the past who didn't make you feel like you were doing them a favor by listening to them or buying their product. Bart Giamatti, which is probably the gold standard in my lifetime, absolutely shilled for the owners, but he didn't make you feel like you were an asshole for believing in him. Peter Ueberroth did some horrible things for baseball, but wasn't just a horrible human being when it came to dealing with the fans. There's got to be somebody who at least has, and maybe that is Theo Epstein, maybe it's somebody else who has the ability to pretend to stand up to the owners when it looks, and I realize I'm asking somebody to lie to me. I'm paying for somebody to lie to me in this role, but I'm okay with that. I think the one thing Theo Epstein would bring that we don't currently have is that he's not an open fan of the Yankees. I think you need to pull somebody either who isn't a fan of baseball, which isn't ideal, or find somebody who's a Royals fan or a Pirates fan and have them be commissioner. Now, I'm sure there are rich Pirates fans. I'm sure there are rich lawyer Royals fans. Those guys need to be more involved than just Yankees fans, because that's, again, my perception is this league is run by the Yankees front office as a proxy through Rob Manfred and his cronies. I know that's not right, but it's what it feels like a lot of the time.
I would like to know if they want to go back to the Giamatti model and hire a academic. I am available.
I was going to say, if we want to pull from the Royal system, I'd like to nominate Marty Cordero, who is president of the Omaha Storm Chasers. We'd have Star Wars night every other night, and I'm all right with that.
Paul Giamatti is available, and he just played an academic in a great movie. So let's have him.
Let's do it.
Baseball loves nepotism.
Well, we have a question from Food and Fitteds with Phil, but first he said that Mayor Vaughn from Jaws would make a better commissioner than Manfred, and I agree, because he'll look us right in the eye and say, MLB means friendship. But he also wants to know about any new food items for this year, and at Minute Maid Park he's going to be heading down. And I thought this would be something my wife is interested in because she is a foodie. So yes, I'm going to go through some of the new items, and you guys, Andy and Brian, give me a yay or nay on whether you want to give it a shot. I'm pretty.
Hold on. Look at me. It's going to be hard to get me to say nay to food.
Oh, well, let me just say, Aaron Marks says challenge accepted.
Yes.
So the first one is a pennant pickle dog. It's a Texas chili Angus footlong hot dog with jalapeno slaw, fried pickle chips, dilly aioli, and green onions. I'm already in no because it's a lot going on. But Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I'm not a fan of slaw, so that's my issue with this here. And just generally, you're right. Just a hot dog with mustard is fine by me. Other people who eat hot dogs with mustard for lunch every day, Bud Selig and Nancy Pelosi. So, an interesting list to be sure.
Yeah. Andy?
I'm going to go no, because I don't think anything that already has chili and fried anything on it needs an extra layer of fat. So that aioli is pushing me out.
That's it. All right. Now, HTX tacos, your choice of pork or fajita beef with assorted toppings, including shredded lettuce, pico de gallo, crema, cilantro, onion, shredded cheese, pineapple, guacamole, salsa verde, and salsa roja. I'm a hard yes on that one. And I've actually thought we needed more taco representation or more consistent taco representation at Minute Maid Park. Andy, you up or down?
I'm pro tacos, so yes.
Brian?
I'm pro tacos. And remember, I live in the Northeast, so I'm definitely pro tacos because I can't get them regularly.
You can't get them regularly. All right, this one I'm actually kind of into. It's the curveball corn dogs, and it's basically mini corn dogs loaded with chili cheese and, if you so choose, diced onions. Brian, up or down?
Things I like in life include chili, cheese, onions, and corn dogs. So, yes.
Andy?
I mean, if I like this, this could replace the Frito pie during playoff season. I mean, it's going to be more expensive to do, but it might be worth it. So that's a thumbs up.
It might be worth it. I learned last year that the baseball gods are tired of my sacrifice. I have to find a new one. And then we've got just a couple more here. We have the Astro Nachos, which are, I don't know why they just spell them nachos, but it's basically fried ranch dusted kettle chips, white queso, breggy bomb barbecue, aioli, jalapeno slaw again, the pico de gallo, the green onions, fresh jalapenos, and a choice of chopped brisket or burnt ends. For me, again, this feels just a little busy for what I normally eat. Andy?
I'm out on that. That's a lot.
And Brian?
The busyness is not an issue. It's the kettle chips. Too salty. You're going to get enough salt from, everything else on that.
All right. Well, then that may mean we will skip the next two. And the last one is the Chiron Nat Nacho, which is
chicharron.
How do I say it?
Chicharron.
Chicharron. Yeah. So fried chicharron, white queso, serrano, crema, fresh sliced jalapenos, pico de gallo, and either fajita beef or pork. Up or
now,
down.
Let me say something about this. If they're chicharrones, that's a low carb snack at the ballpark. So if you're watching your figure, that's a way you could potentially go. Ignore the queso calories.
That seems easy to do. Brian?
I believe ballpark calories do not count. So I'm in.
And I'm actually excited about the last two. They actually are basically bringing empanadas and sopapillas to the ballpark. I'm all for, again, reflecting the fact that we are an actual Texas team with actual Texas. We're the state team of Texas, and as much as those guys up in Southern Oklahoma want to think about it. So I'm all about that.
I am raising my green, white, and red flag.
Oh,
and stealing Andy's joke here to have the sopapillas brought to my table and or seats.
Yeah, the only thing that would make the sopapillas better is that they come with a flag that you can raise for more.
Only our Houston fans listening right now have any idea what that is, and I miss that place so much. I don't miss the diarrhea after, but boy,
it's part of the experience.
Good point. It's all part of the experience, honey. Now, speaking of the experience, last week we did our episode where we talked about what we could be, or what we would say is romantic about baseball. And I was very excited to see this because we saw for the first time ever at college baseball, we saw Parker Bird playing for the East Carolina University Pirates play with one prosthetic leg. He got a walk in his first AB. The ovation from both the home fans and the opposing dugout was the kind of thing that makes baseball special. And I like that we can get these stories out of baseball that remind you what else is important about it outside of Astros wins and losses. Andy, were you able to follow the story at all? And what'd you take from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the feel-good stories. It's a good story that college baseball was back this weekend at all because the void is over. But with this kid, he had a car accident. I think there was something like 22 surgeries in a very short window of time, an entire year of rehab, and for him to come out and pinch hit. That's just a big moment for the team, the kid himself, his family, all the coaches and trainers that helped get him through, and really college baseball. I saw a couple of tweets this weekend because there was a lot of coverage on this, but college baseball is a really interesting sport for those of you that don't watch. And I think it's rising in popularity. It's still affordable. It's still accessible. Somebody in your locale is playing almost every
Somewhere.
week.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun time, especially if you like offense and pings. But for this kid, I mean, it's just everything he worked for was taken away, and he earned it back, and that's a great story.
Brian, how about you? Were you able to see the story at all?
Yes, I was, and I do follow college baseball a good bit because
Sure, an LSU fan, wouldn't you?
everything Andy said, but also it snowed. I had my Saturday involved shoveling snow so that my wife could go to the Verizon store. Very important stuff, obviously. And then so watching college baseball in the afternoon was delightful. I will add here, if you want to see college baseball in Houston, the College Classic is coming up on March 1st through 3rd. It features University of Houston, Villanova, Louisiana Lafayette, Texas State, University of Texas, and of course the defending national champions LSU. So again, you can see not only you can go to Rice, U of H, you can go to sort of any place around you. If you live not in the Northeast, all the Northeast teams go play in Florida at the beginning
for the next 3 months.
Yeah, but it is delightful, and of course much cheaper than college baseball. And I saw Mark Teixeira hit a bomb out of Reckling Park back in 2000, and it was a good bit of scouting.
Well, I think that's a good point. You're going to see more and more future major leaguers taking the college route with the way the draft has been altered and the limited number of minor league teams there are now.
And with NIL, they can make a few bucks.
Yeah, you are going to see it. You are going to see a lot more future stars than you would have 5-10 years ago. Paul Skynes, famously from LSU, is probably going to be pitching for the Pirates in the very near future. And he was a star last year at LSU. So it's not going to be an uncommon thing to watch a guy get drafted in June and see him maybe at a September call-up, but certainly in the next year's minor league or major league camp.
Yeah, Ivan Melendez for Texas exploded through the minors, and I think did get an invite to Major League Camp. It does look like all three of our squads got off to a strong start. LSU and A&M went 3-0. Texas went 2-1. So maybe we'll have some fun Omaha stuff to talk about.
I had no idea McNeese was even a state, but I'm glad that we beat them.
Well, in Louisiana, you pronounce it McNeese for some reason.
I'm not in Louisiana, so
because reasons. Brian, there's a lot of things I thank God for, and one of them is not being from Louisiana. So.
It's McNeese and it's McDonald's, and I don't know why.
Well, that feels like as good a place as any to get out of here. We're back next week. Real quick, though, I got to do a shameless plug. Ballpark Nation is raising money to help pay for our finishing fees. We are ever so close to our goal. So if you want to check us out and help us out, that would be fantastic. But we will all love you anywhere. We're going to do some final thoughts. My final thoughts are people on the web are trying to convince me that the brick and red Astros uniforms were somehow good. All I can say is you're an idiot. Go Astros. Brian.
Hey, my bit was going to be the college baseball is back and you should watch it. So we've done that already. I'll just emphasize it. Go Astros.
I think we're almost done with the blank has arrived at spring training post from Brian McTaggart. So now we can concentrate on things actually happening on the field. Go Astros.